Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited to talk about some NBA draft sleepers for the 2024 NBA draft class. This is a video I look forward to every single year, talking about some guys that I think are going to be more valuable than their draft slot would suggest. Last year, a great example of this was Trayce Jackson-Davis, someone I was very, very high on, had a mid-first round grade on, ended up going in the 50s to the Golden State Warriors, and ended up being a player who almost made an all-rookie team if you look at the voting. So this is a video I look forward to a lot. I'm extremely excited to talk about some sleepers in this one. If you guys do enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump into it now with a video preview. We're going to talk about 5 NBA draft sleepers in the 2024 NBA draft class. Now, these are a lot of players I haven't spoken much about on the channel. Some of them I have included in either mock drafts or just overall videos for possible second round candidates for certain teams. I have talked about most of these prospects at some point once or some other time down in the past couple of videos or past couple of months, right? But these 5 players, these 5 sleepers, I really wanted to hone in on and focus on in today's video. And just for those who maybe are newer to basketball or don't exactly know what a sleeper is a player who will be more valuable than their expected draft position. So if someone's expected to be a second round pick and I have a first round grade on them, they would be, in my definition, a sleeper. So let's jump into number 5 here, and that is Pacome Dadiet from Ratiopharm Ulm, playing overseas in France. And he's a player I haven't spoken too much about on the channel so far, but I do really like his game, and I think he's got intriguing upside, especially for someone who maybe could slip into the first round, but has a unique ability to get to certain jump shots, get to certain spots on the floor as a scorer, and he has a very good rim volume and rim success rate from his time overseas. If we look at his shot chart here, you'll see that he has really lit it up right around the rim. And for someone who, when you're looking for low-end first rounders or high-end second round picks, you're projecting role players. So having good rim volume, the ability to attack closeouts, get to the rim, and having success at the rim, that is one of the most important things for a player, being able to translate his game to the NBA, playing off of other talent. You think about some of the best shot creators in the league. Those guys have the ability and the green light to shoot on all 3 levels at any given moment. At any given time in the shot clock, they can go ahead and take those shots. For someone like Pacome Dadiet, who's going to come in with a little bit more nuance, a little bit more expectation to fit within an offense and fit within a scheme, his ability to finish at the rim, operate as a cutter, operate as a driver of the basketball against closeouts, rise up into some of those 15, 18-foot pull-up jump shots he really likes to get to. That's one of the things that really stands out to me on film about Dadiet, is he likes to get to certain spots on the floor and has a pretty smooth jumper when he does. I think one of the big questions is, how does his three-point shot translate to the NBA? With the NBA three-point line, will that be an adjustment period for him? I'm expecting it will be. But if you're looking for someone who has a little bit of creation in his game, but can function and operate as an off-ball player, who can attack off the catch, attack closeouts, get to the rim, cut, operate off the baseline, he has all of those traits, and he measured in extremely well at the European Combine, where he measured in over 6'7" without shoes on. I think that was a real positive surprise for everyone. I think most people were expecting him to be about 6'5.5", 6'6" or so without shoes. Measured in well above that, so I think that's a real big positive for Dadiet as well. Someone who, for me, I'm going to start mocking probably in the first round a little bit. I do think his kind of range right now is anywhere from about pick 22, pick 23-ish, to anywhere in the early second round, to the mid-30s, to maybe pick 40 if he falls that far. I could see him kind of in that range. Yes, that's a wide range, about 17, 18 picks. But I do think that just with the overall quality of this draft and how many players could go in a number of different spots because of fit and who ends up loving which prospect, it's not like other drafts where we have a really good idea who's even going up at the top of the draft. This year's really wide open. Players are going to go all over the place. It'll remind me a little bit of when the Spurs drafted Josh Primo a few years ago. That was a big shocker to me. I did not love that pick for them. And I think this year could be a real possibility where some teams reach on guys I'm not expecting, or maybe they take a guy that they feel like they really want that no one was really expecting to go in the top 15 or in the top 25 picks. So maybe Dadiet could be one of those guys who goes above where my projected draft range is for him right now. Obviously for him, I'm hoping so he can get that bag on that nice first-round rookie contract. But we'll see what happens. Dadiet, I think, is going to be an intriguing player to watch for. I like his skill set. I like his ability to toggle between on-ball and off-ball duties, and his creation upside, I think, is definitely something that will be unique for a potential second-round pick if he does fall to the second round on day 2 of the NBA draft this year. Then let's look at a player who I think has gained a lot of notoriety, especially down the late end of this process here, and that is Isaiah Crawford from Louisiana Tech, someone who has good traditional wing size at about 6'6" without shoes on, 7'1" wingspan, give or take maybe an inch there. He's somebody who I think will translate very smoothly into the league as a 3-and-D player, and he has a little bit more upside than that. Simply put, he is someone who at Louisiana Tech, he was relied upon to create shots, attack closeouts, drive the basketball, create offense for Louisiana Tech quite a bit. And the reality here is once he gets into the NBA, he's not going to be asked to do those things really anymore. Obviously, it's a pro that he's going to be capable of attacking hard closeouts and maybe getting some layups and finishing at the rim a bit through traffic. Those are things that Isaiah Crawford is capable of doing, but you're not going to ask him to do that frequently for your offense. So how does he factor into an NBA situation? How does he factor into an NBA setting? I think the smoothest, cleanest comparison for him at this point in time is Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith came into the NBA with a very broken jump shot, ended up becoming a huge reclamation project for the Dallas Mavericks as an undrafted free agent. I do not see the same situation playing out here for Isaiah Crawford because he can already shoot the ball. He shot well over 39% from 3 this past year at Louisiana Tech. He's someone who comes into the NBA with a reliable jump shot. Now, his form does look very similar to Dorian Finney-Smith's as well. And I think with the work that Dallas put into Dorian Finney-Smith's jump shot and turning him into a good NBA player, Isaiah Crawford kind of comes in with that being who we expect him to possibly turn into. And I think that's a huge positive. Dorian Finney-Smith's been a huge component of winning basketball in the past. And one thing I think that really stands out to me in the comparison between Crawford and Dorian Finney-Smith is that Crawford, he's not the most athletic player. He's not going to jump out of the gym. He doesn't have these crazy rejections, but he wins with his defensive positioning a lot. He just finds himself in the right spot on the floor very consistently. He does a good job keeping the ball in front of him. He has a plus wingspan to make some of those plays even while grounded. He challenges around the rim well. He's someone who on the perimeter, I think he's going to be able to navigate screens, stay attached to ball handlers. I like Isaiah Crawford's game quite a bit. I think his role in the NBA will be quite a bit easier than what he's been tasked to do at Louisiana Tech at times. And I think, look, the upside's not here. He's not like going to turn into a multi-time All-Star or anything. But what he's going to become is a really reliable rotation player. And that's something that in this draft is extremely valuable, especially if you can get it in the second round, maybe even the back end of the first round. Don't rule out someone like the Minnesota Timberwolves at pick number 27. They've had him in their building working out. I know that they do like him internally a bit. Now, they have some needs to fill. Obviously, they're going to lose Kyle Anderson. The backup point guard spot's kind of in flux right now. The Wolves really value playmaking. So Isaiah Crawford doesn't necessarily give them that, but I could see them looking at him as a valuable 3-and-D wing prospect that could fit into their overall team construction as they look to maybe shoot more threes going into next year and continue their defensive dominance. Getting someone like Isaiah Crawford, who has all the physical tools and a lot of the intangibles that you want from a wing in today's game, I could see him going to Minnesota at 27. I could see Denver at pick number 28, for example. Maybe even Boston at 30 if they stay in the first round. Isaiah Crawford's a really unique prospect and one that I think will ultimately hear his name called, whether that's on day 1 or day 2 of the NBA draft, but he'll be a valuable pickup for sure for whoever grabs him. Moving into my third prospect I want to highlight, and that is Adem Bona from UCLA. I like Adem Bona's game a lot. He is extremely athletic, and the thing I love most about his athleticism, he doesn't have that combine athleticism where you watch him in a combine and you're like, wow, this kid's so athletic, he could run track and field, this, that, and the other thing. You see it on the basketball floor. Very functional usage of his athleticism. He's got tremendous recovery skills. He has a hard nose for the basketball, and I say that in a really positive way where he's trying to make plays, especially on the defensive end of the floor. He's not afraid of jeopardizing getting postered. He steps in, he challenges above the rim, at the rim, he puts his body on the line. And he's somebody with the defensive versatility, with the flexibility on the defensive end of the floor to give a coach some real versatility with what you want to do defensively from a scheme standpoint. And for me, one of the biggest things in my draft philosophy is the value of versatility, flexibility, and the value of fitting that to a specific coach. Some coaches really love drop coverage. Some coaches really love hard hedges. Some coaches really love blitzing. Giving a coach who is creative and smart, like an Eric Spoelstra, for example, someone who can really differentiate schemes to throw off the opponent and giving your defense kind of a leg up because you have some of that versatility to toggle between certain facets of defensive style. Adem Bona could fit in phenomenally to a creative coach. Now, if you give him to a flat system, he's not going to probably be the best drop coverage big, and there's real problems with trying to switch all the time. There's issues with every kind of defensive coverage, and teams are figuring out all the ways to exploit every single kind of defense. That's why someone like Bona, to me, who you can ask to do a bunch of different things. He's athletic enough and quick enough on his feet to play and drop, but still challenge floaters, challenge at the rim as well. He's got those recovery tools where he can be a tremendous drop coverage big. He's also at times switched out on the perimeter. In his 2 years at UCLA, he's got tremendous quickness, lateral mobility. He's very comfortable out in space. Sometimes it doesn't go well. Sometimes it looks a little awkward. You would expect that from a center, and he didn't measure in super huge either at the combine. That is a negative on him. Right now, I think most people are projecting Bona to be a second-round pick. I have a pretty firm first-round grade on him. I think offensively, he can get his head above the rim. He can be a tremendous screen and roll guy. Maybe there's hope that he could trigger into DHOs with a little bit of playmaking, feeling comfortability with the ball in the perimeter. Again, the big name to his game, though, is the athletic traits that he possesses and the IQ to be able to harness those athletic traits to functionally win basketball games, win possessions, win moments in time on the basketball court. That's why I like Adem Bona quite a bit coming out of UCLA in this year's draft. Then my fourth prospect I want to talk about, and that is Baylor Scheierman from Creighton. If you've been watching the channel here for a while, you know how high I am on Baylor Scheierman. I really like this kid's game. I think he's going to work very, very seamlessly in the NBA. My comp for him right now is Utah Jazz version of Joe Ingles, a player who, yes, both left-handed, both of them are white, both of them not the most athletic guys. That plays into the comp a little bit, right? But what really plays into the comp is the combination of dribble, pass, and shoot. And if you guys saw my video the other day talking about my overall offensive perimeter draft philosophy and the value of those three fundamental skills in unison, Baylor Scheierman is somebody who checks all of those boxes. He can handle the basketball. He can make reads with a live dribble. Out of all players this past year, all draft prospects, he ranked in the 100th percentile in pick and roll efficiency. So he's somebody who can handle the basketball in the screen and roll game, very similar to Joe Ingles and some of the success he found in Utah, especially working with someone like Rudy Gobert. You give Baylor Scheierman a lob threat like he had this past year at Creighton with Ryan Kalkbrenner, you're going to find success. And the shot element is very important. Joe Ingles, coming out of Australia, one of the biggest issues with him as a young draft prospect was the reliability of his jump shot. That's why he had kind of a late start to his career. Scheierman is an older prospect, 23 years old already, but Scheierman comes into the NBA as a very good shooter. Shot a ton of deep threes this past year for Creighton. It's always been a big part of his game, even back to when he was playing at South Dakota State, where he was the whole offense for the Jackrabbits. He's somebody with real deep range. I think he will adjust smoothly and seamlessly to the NBA three-point line. I don't see any problems with him playing off the ball as a standstill catch and shoot guy. He can also be a connector where when he cuts, he's going to be able to make the nice extra pass on the move, being able to make those decisions. And at times, if you want to run a set play and it requires your small forward to be able to handle the ball in the pick and roll or trigger a DHO or hit a back cut, those are all things Scheierman can do. He's a very well-rounded player on the offensive end of the floor. Yes, there's some flaws defensively. He's, again, not the most athletic, doesn't have the best physical traits. Those things factor into my evaluation of a guy, but I do think offensively, Baylor Scheierman's going to be one of those players where he goes in the second round but carves out a 12, 13, 14-year NBA career, and we're going, wait, why did this guy not go in the first round again? Because all of the indicators are there that he's going to be a good NBA player because he fits around other talent, he can amplify other talent as a facilitator, and he can finish plays as well as a shooter and cutter. And those are some of the things I love about Baylor Scheierman. I think he'll be a really smooth addition to whatever team gets him. I'm hoping a contender lands him because he could play instant minutes as of tomorrow in the NBA and be a positive force around other good talent. So Scheierman, maybe not the player that's going to work super well on a team that's tanking, but if you get him on the right team with a lot of talent around him, his ability, his skill set is really going to show up, and you're going to see it all the time, I think. I think Scheierman's just a really great prospect. Then the final prospect I want to talk about in today's video, Ajay Mitchell from UC Santa Barbara, and I am on the island here. I'm the biggest Ajay Mitchell stan on the planet, seemingly. Most people look at him as a likely second-round pick. Most people have second-round grades on him. I have a very firm lottery grade on Ajay Mitchell. I think he's a lottery-level player in this year's draft. I think he's got a lot of qualities that would make him a starting point guard caliber player in the NBA because of his ability to play off of 2 feet, gather himself. He's constantly on balance. He can shoot the basketball. He can make reads in live dribble scenarios, which is obviously a required qualification of an NBA starting point guard. He does all of those things. He's somebody who, with his scoring gravity, his touch around the rim, his balance around the rim, again, the ability to get defenders off balance by playing at his own pace, his own speed, his own quickness, being decisive as a scorer, all of those things put defenses in a little bit of a bind trying to contain Mitchell in either the pick and roll, in isolation. Oh, and by the way, he was also a great spot-up threat this year at UC Santa Barbara. So even though I think he is a starting caliber point guard, one thing that's really important in draft evaluations, as we don't know where these guys are going to land, what situation they're going to get drafted into, someone like Ajay Mitchell having ability to play off the ball and function around another either star player or another point guard could be a real beneficial value to his game, because we don't know where he's going to get drafted. If he gets drafted to a team that already has a real point guard in place, or maybe a star in place like a Luka Doncic, like a Jason Tatum, for example, Ajay Mitchell being able to play without the ball in his hands, operate as a spot-up catch-and-shoot guy who can attack closeouts, that's also a really good, strong part of his game as well. So I think someone like Ajay Mitchell is an extremely well-rounded offensive player. Defensively, he has the tenacity to guard. He's not going to be an elite defender. He's not going to be someone who you're going to want to drape on the other team's best player, but I think he has the prototypical size for the position to be able to fit in defensively and be at least a positive cog in a good team defense down the road if a team gives him that opportunity. I do like Ajay Mitchell's game quite a bit from an offensive standpoint, just the dribble, pass, shoot component. It's all there. All of the boxes are checked for me. I think Ajay Mitchell's a player who is going to way outperform wherever he gets drafted. To me, I think if I was in the shoes of the Orlando Magic GM at pick 18, I would love to take someone like Ajay Mitchell. I think at 15, Miami could make some sense depending on who's available still at that point. Obviously, someone like Devin Carter is getting a lot of love as well in the lottery. I think Ajay Mitchell is just flat out a very good player, someone who warrants real first-round consideration and honestly should be hovering around the lottery in consideration. Right now, most people are speculating he will be a second-round selection. I think extremely valuable get for whoever ultimately does call his name, whether that be on day 1 or day 2 of the 2024 NBA draft. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know who your biggest draft sleepers are down in the comment section below. If you guys did enjoy this video and the time I put into these videos, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more. Go check out those links in the description. My Twitter's in there, our Discord server's in there. Would love for you guys to go join those things. Follow us over on Twitter as well. Really appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.